how to meditate. Um, for me, meditating is not um, a, a big task per se. So meditating is a way of building a relationship with yourself. So the way that I use meditation is by first acknowledging that sometimes what the meditation or the sitting is in meditation is just that moment of being alone in silence by yourself, regardless of what is happening in the mind or in the body. I think a lot of people think that meditation is sitting down and trying to quiet your mind and stop thinking. But sometimes meditation can be just simply taking that 5 minutes to be by yourself and just being with your breath or being with whatever experience you're having in that moment. So in essence, that meditation can be something very, very simple. But I think what makes it meditation maybe is the intention um, of wanting to meditate. I'm doing this walking meditation. The intention is to meditate while I walk, or the intention is to sit down and be aware of my breath. So, and then you can label it a meditation, I guess. But I think simply it's just the relationship that you cultivate with yourself, and um, just that taking time to just pay attention to what's happening in and around you, what's happening with the breath, what's happening with the body, what's happening with the mind. Just aware, being aware and being present with what is happening in each moment. And for me, that's the clearest definition of meditation. And sometimes I can sit for 20 minutes, something I can sit for an hour, and sometimes it only takes 5 minutes. I only have 5 minutes. But just to sit down and give myself that moment of quiet, being with myself and being aware with what's happening for me in that moment, even if it's 2 minutes or doesn't matter. So it's not a sport. It's not you don't become a mindfulness athlete or a meditation athlete at the end. It's just something that's personal and a practice that is cultivated, but mostly private and personal. Yeah, that's for me. It's what meditation is.
What would you say is the like kind of the basic steps that one should do? Let's say I've never meditated before, and no, help me.
I think for me, whenever I learn something like a skill, like for example, if I'm starting to run or like want to cultivate like having more exercise in my life, it's easier for me if I break it down into like the smallest thing that I can do. So I think the first thing that people struggle with when they start thinking about doing meditation or practicing meditation is time. Can I have the time? And so the first thing that was important for me is to like prove to myself that I can make the time. And so I started with the smallest amount of time that is available to me, which is like 2 minutes. Do I have 2 minutes? Yes, I have 2 minutes. And so I would try and show up for 2 minutes in each day, over and over and over and over and over again. I would say, this is my meditation, regardless of how badly I was meditating. But the first thing was that I can give myself 2 minutes, and to like prove to myself that I can always give myself 2 minutes, and that 2 minutes belong to me. And then the next step is to find a practice, find a way of learning the methodology. It's very hard because there's so much stuff online. A lot of it is very useful, and some of it is questionable. So it's like finding the right teachers to like be able to practice and be guided with your meditation. So if you find mindfulness meditations by Mark Williams, for example, on YouTube, he teaches you the 5 minutes or 3 minute breathing space, and just cultivating the skill of meditation, learning from someone who is trained in guiding meditation. But often the simplest thing is always the best one. So just being aware of your breath. So the next step is learning to be aware of your breath. So you have that 2 minutes now, and you've proven to yourself that you can set aside time for yourself. And then the next thing is, can I be aware of my breath? Which is the most simplest thing. And then it's like you grow. Then from there, you start growing your practice of meditation, growing the amount of time when you spend in meditation to 5 minutes, into 10 minutes. And then you start cultivating more of a skill through learning from teachers, from good teachers, and learning what is feels safe for you. It's always an invitation. And yeah, and then you start growing your practice and the amount of time you devote to your practice in that way. So like the simplest thing that you can start with is often the best thing, to cultivate practice meditation.
Thank you. I love the two-step, just time, focus on your breath. But what I do, and I find, I was on a mind trip. I was like kind of caught in thoughts, or like some kind of emotion took over my awareness, and I'm not on my breath anymore. What do I do with that?
I mean, there's different types of meditation, and there's different schools of meditation. But the school of John Kabat-Zinn of mindfulness meditation, one of the biggest elements of that form of meditation is the element of compassion, the idea of compassion. So being kind to yourself, so realizing that actually in the end, there is no one who's perfect who can sit in meditation and not think. That's not the point. The point is that you build that relationship with yourself and just know what your mind does. So when you're aware that your mind does all this thinking, that's a very good thing, because then you've got awareness to it. Otherwise, you'd just be going on thinking and the mind is going wild by itself. But the mind does what it does. And the point is not to change the mind or to try and make the mind different, but to be able to see the mind do what it does, and with curiosity and with kindness towards ourselves, and that we're just human beings and we're just trying our best, and there's nothing broken in us. It's just the mind, and the mind does what the mind does. And it's just that having that awareness of what the mind does.